All right, what's going on YouTube? It's been about 6 months or so since I've streamed. Uh, I got Nate on here, and we're just going to be talking some Titans, some first week of college football, and pretty relaxing stream. And I'll just be looking through the chat to just see what you all are into. I saw a comment earlier saying, "Is this going to be the Daniel Jones sucks show?" It's not going to be. It's just going to be kind of reviewing how those rookie quarterbacks look because I would say there's about a 70% chance that we'll end up taking one of those quarterbacks. Also, Will Anderson looked pretty good too. So
He always does, doesn't
yeah, there's a lot to talk about. So
he? Yeah.
not going to be the Daniel Jones sucks show, but what's going on, Taj? It's been a while since I've streamed, but I've seen you in a couple of other streams.
What's up,
But
Tosh?
Nate, how's it been for you?
It's been wild and crazy, wild and crazy. As you can see, I'm in my dorm room. It's gonna be the setup for the foreseeable future. And don't mind the fact that my bed hasn't been made for the last 2 weeks. That's not a thing you need to worry about. But yeah, a lot of football to talk about. Big day yesterday, big week coming up this week. Thursday night football starting out with a big matchup, defending Super Bowl champs, and a lot of people's Super Bowl favorites. So, like you said, a lot to get through.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of where I was going to go to next. What Dustin asked in the chat: which rookie quarterback, or not rookie? I'm all the way ahead. Which I guess
Gotta shake
2020
off the
class
rust.
of 20 class of 2023 quarterback impressed you most yesterday? If you gotten to see, I don't
Yeah.
know if you got to see all of them or not.
Just about. I saw most of the QBs that I was looking at scouting so far. A couple still I have to watch a game or two of, but it's week one, plenty of time. For me, it was Anthony Richardson. It has been for a while. Anthony Richardson was, for me and a lot of people, the most intriguing quarterback prospect. The one with the most high upside, I guess is the best way of putting it, and boy,
Yeah,
is he showing it. I think one thing that I was definitely looking for out of him coming into this season, and again, just week one, but definitely showing it against a high pedigree number 7 Utah team was maturity in his passing game, and I think he definitely showed that. There were a few plays where he had a rollout, and I think last season Anthony Richardson would have run the ball. This season Anthony Richardson passes it, hits his receiver in stride, good timing, efficient passing, keeping the ball in front of the sticks, in motion, in rhythm with the drive, and that's something I wanted to see out of him as a passer. I also think that he cleaned up his motion a lot, which is what's helping his accuracy so much. So I'm excited to see what he can do from here, but he was probably my number one from this week with a big upset in the swamp.
yeah, I definitely agree. He is literally. I saw a comment earlier saying that he runs like Kyler Murray but bigger, and it is funny. Like he runs like he has short legs,
He kind of
but
does, actually, yeah.
and it helps with like being elusive, I guess, because he gets a lot of comparisons to Cam Newton, and Cam Newton is definitely elusive, even though he's that big. But I think he's definitely more elusive than Cam Newton is. And
That's
yeah,
fair.
I saw a lot of times where I definitely believe he would have taken off before, and he stayed in the pocket or he maneuvered around the pocket. And he had one where he like escaped the sack, scrambled to the right side of the field, and hit someone on the sideline. So if he can do those kinds of things, he does have that high ceiling. If he's just a runner, even still, you can be Lamar Jackson, not that level, but you can be that kind of player, and we already see that kind of player can make an impact. But I think if he can, extend plays and be able to throw the ball down the field, that would be great. He had one play where he like made like 5 or 6 people miss and was falling down on the ground and almost threw like a horrible interception, and they just dropped it. But other
Yeah.
than that, he looked really good.
I remember that specific play. He was rolling out to his left, and he tried to make a little too much happen. But that's young quarterback stuff. That doesn't worry me too much. The thing that I was excited to see was number one, again, maturity in his passing game, and number two, throwing on the run for him was a big strength. I'm a big fan of that. With his feet not set outside the pocket under pressure, staying calm, not panicking, keeping his throwing motion, his fundamentals, bringing the arms forward and backward as you're supposed to, and hitting his receiver in stride. So I was excited to see that from him. And then another thing that he showed, and Bryce Young, my goodness, really
Oh
showed,
my god,
was pocket presence. And
yeah.
I am such a big fan of pocket presence. Bryce Young against Utah State, granted, it's Utah State, but Bryce Young, my goodness, his movement in the pocket is so efficient. We're used to watching Daniel Jones stand as a statue and just stand in and take 1,000 hits a game. Bryce Young is so elusive in the pocket, and he feels pressure so well. It's an ability that I love seeing in young quarterbacks because a lot of the best quarterbacks for years in the NFL have used that to their advantage. You look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady is about as elusive as a stick, and that man is so good in the pocket that he just doesn't take sacks. And Bryce Young was showing some excellent pocket mobility yesterday.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, that's where people go wrong with these quarterbacks when they try to judge them. Like, Daniel Jones is more athletic than Tom Brady. He's more athletic than, depending on how you want to define athleticism, as far as like lifting heavy things, running really fast. He's more athletic than a bunch of these guys, but he just doesn't have that short area elusiveness that
Oh,
even
no, not at
guys
all.
like, I mean, guys like Tony Romo, guys like Drew Brees, guys even like Eli Manning, that like in the short area, they would just have that little move that will make someone miss. And that's
Yeah.
really what I look at. I mean, a lot of these quarterbacks, they could be really fast in a straight line, but if you don't have that short area elusiveness, it really puts you at a disadvantage because once Daniel Jones gets going, he's just as fast, if not faster, than Anthony Richardson and pretty much any other prospect or quarterback that you're looking at. He's just as fast as Lamar Jackson in a straight line. But that's not really how football is played. It's not, very rarely, maybe once or twice a year, as we see, will you get a chance to really accelerate in a straight line. So
Right.
that's what I'm looking for. Again, this isn't like a bash Daniel Jones stream. I still like, I'm sure both of us would agree, if Daniel Jones goes out and he plays so well that he's not getting replaced next year, I'm sure we're both happy. So
Oh, absolutely.
anyone that goes out there, I'm rooting to be an elite quarterback. But those are just some things that I saw. And when you talked about Bryce Young, he definitely did that. I would say at the highest level, and like he was hitting guys in stride. He
Oh, yeah,
was
for
hitting
sure.
guys with anticipation. It was really nice to watch. And I would say he's probably the furthest along out of these three quarterbacks because, I mean, he made it look easy. He made it look like, oh, this is a horrible team, which, I mean, compared
In
to Alabama,
fairness, he
they
was
are.
playing Utah State, and the other two were playing top seven
Exactly.
teams.
Compared to Alabama, they are. But just the way, like, you can use the argument that the receivers are open, but did you see the receivers have to stop? Did you
No,
see the
no, it's true.
receivers have to reach behind their back? Like, everything was on time. It looked like he was running a pro offense, and I think
Hmm.
that's where he might have that early advantage. But I'll go to the next quarterback, CJ Stroud, and I'll give my quick thoughts on how he looked yesterday. I thought he looked good. He didn't kind of look breathtaking. He made a ton of good plays on the run, but I mean, again, it's kind of what you expected from him.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say he's probably the least athletic out of these three quarterbacks, and that's not even
I
really.
kind of put him and Bryce Young in the same tier, honestly.
Yeah, I
It's a
would
little
say so
more.
too.
Bryce Young is a little more agile, but they're similar for all intents and purposes.
Either way, me saying that he's the least athletic isn't a knock on his
Oh
athleticism
no, not at all.
at all.
When you're comparing him to
Um,
Anthony Richardson, like, come on.
yeah, yeah, that dude is essentially. I wouldn't say a tight end. I mean, yeah, he's bigger than Evan Ingram.
Yeah, Anthony
So
Richardson could play tight end for sure.
yeah, they said, what about Will Levis? Will
Oh,
Levis was off
stop!
my board the
Don't
second
do
I saw
this.
him. What did he eat a banana with the pill still on? That was
And the
ridiculous.
mayonnaise and the coffee.
The
No,
mayonnaise,
we
I
can't
could
do
get
this.
over. I could get over the mayonnaise
You
and
can
the
get over the
coffee
mayonnaise and the
because,
coffee. I
like,
can't.
I wouldn't try it myself, but like I've seen other people do it. So I'm like, okay, you put mayonnaise in the
Mm-mm.
coffee. That's really strange. But once I saw him just like with no regard for human life, just take a bite out of a banana with the pill still on, he was off my board.
No, I mean, in all seriousness about Will Levis, just because I do want to give my thoughts on that, I don't like Will Levis as a prospect, and it's not because of, first of all, it's not because of the banana thing. I mean, we can be serious about that. It's because of a few things. Number one, I think he's talented, but I don't think he moves the needle compared to some of the other guys in this class. I think all three of the other quarterbacks we're mentioning are easily more talented than he is, and I am a talent-oriented evaluator of prospects. That's just how I am. And number two, if there's one thing that bothers me like crazy about quarterbacks, it's hospital passes. And Will Levis throws hospital passes. like constantly.
Just watch Wandale
Wandale
Robinson.
Robinson. You can't
College
scout Wandale Robinson without seeing him get destroyed because Will Levis will lead him into a linebacker or a strong safety and just get him crushed.
Like
And
if you
I
had
can't stand that.
if you had no idea who Will Levis was, you would be looking at the tape of Wandale Robinson and you'd be like, "Who is this quarterback? He's awful. Like
Yeah.
he's lighting his receivers up." And it's supposedly I hope he doesn't end up on the Giants. And Nate said it's because of talent. I'm telling you right now, it's because he took a bite out of a banana with the pill still on.
Yeah, I mean, Will Levis has plenty of time to prove me wrong, obviously. I am also, one of my core beliefs is that the only season that really matters when you're evaluating prospects is the last one. Like, there's so much development that takes place from year over year that if you're looking at tape from the year before you're about to draft the guy, it's basically a different player. Like, it does not matter whatsoever. Joe Burrow is a perfect example. Like, if you're evaluating him 2018 and then 2019, you're going to say that he's a UDFA and then he's the number one pick overall. So, to me, the only season that really matters on evaluating a prospect is the last one. And with Will Levis, obviously, going into a game against Florida, him versus Anthony Richardson, that's going to be a big game for both of their stocks as prospects. And that's going to be something I'll be keeping a close eye on. And Will Levis, he has the talent to prove me wrong. He is a talented quarterback. But as of now, QB4, if not 5 for me.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Like I said, he's off my board. But let's see. I want to get to some of these comments here.
This is a false narrative here.
Before I get to that, I'll get to something a little bit further up. He's not on the level. I don't understand why people are like, he's not that guy.
No, I mean, I've been against this from the beginning. I do not think Phil Jerkovic. It's either Jerkovic or Jerkovic. I don't know. Either way, I've never thought I never thought he was an NFL player from day one. I just don't think he's that talented. And number two, as much as I don't like him, I would at least like to see him get a chance. Because my God, Boston College, it's bad. It's real bad. That offensive line it makes the Giants the last 2 years look like the Cowboys. It's horrific. They're going to turn that man into a fine pink mist by week 3. It's bad.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And then let's go back to his. You can pretty much say this about any player. If Cam Newton gets hit by an edge rusher that's smaller than him and gets injured, it's fair game for any quarterback in the league. Daniel Jones is like 6'4", 6'5".
I was about to say that, man.
Almost 240 pounds, and he can't run up the middle of the field. And like, I don't know why he goes head first, but he does. He can't do that without pulling a hamstring. I mean, anybody can get hurt at any time, and I don't think that Bryce Young is like a petite person. Like, he's not tall, but he's not skinny. Like, he's not really a really light player.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're looking at players and looking at size issues for different positions, it is a legitimate thing. But Bryce Young isn't Kyler Murray. He's not 5'9". He's 6 feet 200. That's about where Bryce Young is. He looks slim. That's fair. If you want him to put on weight, he can. He's an NFL football player next year. That's something he'll be able to do. But let's not talk like he's made out of plastic here. Besides, if you're looking at guys in his archetype of quarterback, like I mentioned, his best skill is not taking big hits. And when you see quarterbacks like him, quarterbacks like Lamar, quarterbacks like even Kyler as a smaller guy, guys that like to run, guys that scramble, guys that maybe aren't massive, those quarterbacks, and aren't maybe built like Ben Roethlisberger and can take 1,000 hits in the pocket, what they're masters of is not taking big hits. And when I say that, I don't just mean breaking tackles. I don't just mean evading rushers in the pocket. I mean there's a certain art to moving your body in such a way that you don't get absolutely smoked. It's like boxing. When you're taking a punch, you don't just take the punch. You move your chin with it and deflect the blow. That's what quarterbacks are able to do when they aren't Ben Roethlisberger sized. And that's something that Bryce Young already has in his tool bag. So it's not an issue for me.
And look at Eli Manning. People... Now, I still believe that if Eli would have had an offensive line, he could have played about 2 more years at a higher level.
That's possible.
Every time, why do you think Eli continued to show up to every game? It's because after a while, when someone had a clean shot on him and he wasn't going to get the ball off, he would go along with the tackle. He would, give himself up pretty much. Exactly. So that's pretty much what you have to learn to do. That's what Kyler Murray kind of does. He wraps, like he kind of curls up, which, I mean, is smart. but I don't see that issue with no one is going to be taking like shot after shot from these edge rushers and staying healthy throughout the season.
No.
So I want to move on to this right here. I hope DJ does well. Lame. I thought this stream was about week 1 this
We'll
season.
get
It will
there.
be about
Calm
week
down,
1 this
Steve.
season. That's why we're getting this out of the way early. And then Darnell Washington.
Oh my God.
That dude looks
Holy
legitimately
crap.
38 years old.
I mean, Georgia is building these guys in a lab for sure. It's unbelievable. First of all, that tight end room is stupid good. Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington is a hell of a combination. Brock Bowers a little shorter, a little slimmer. He's more of a pass-catching tight end. Darnell Washington more of a blocker. But even Darnell Washington, he hurdled guys.
That was
It's ridiculous.
Seeing someone that tall like hurdle someone that
It's
tall
unreal.
and that heavy, it's like JPP levels of athleticism.
It's stupid. I mean, we saw Jelani Woods last year come out of the draft, and he was like 6'7", 250, I think, something like that. And Jelani Woods is one of those type athletes rather. Darnell Washington maybe isn't on his level, but I mean, he's hurdling Oregon DBs. What are we talking about here? Like, Jesus, Georgia, come on.
Could he be the JPP at tight ends?
Oh God, let's not start.
Is this the guy?
Let's not start.
All right. I'll move on to, let's see if there's anything. Yeah, Darnell Washington looks really old to me. I got to pull up his birth certificate.
Yeah.
But I'll let Timothy start it off. He said, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and the rest of the Titans offense will be no match for the Big Blue Wrecking Crew 2.0. So before I that's a good segue into talking about the Titans. But before I get into it, what are you thinking of the Giants going into this week 1? And what are you thinking of the Titans going into this week 1 game?
I think the easy way to put it is they're two very different teams in the sense that they are at very different places in the lifespan of their rebuilds. The Titans are they're up here. The Titans are at that spot where they're thinking, all right, we got to get to the Super Bowl. We got to get there. We're in our window. We don't want this window to pass us by. We have a core. We have our star player. We're trying to make this happen. The Giants, on the other hand, are at day one. Day one of many. So I think this is a temper your expectations game. I think that there's a lot of things we should be excited to see from the Giants for sure, but we can hope for a win. I would not say we should expect a win. The Titans are a strong team. I think a lot of people have this strange idea in their head that Blake Martinez is the straw that's going to break the camel's back, and now that we lost him, now Derrick Henry is going to be a problem. Because when we had Blake Martinez, who makes all of his tackles 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, that was how we were going to stop Derrick Henry. But it's going to be what it's going to be. The way you stop running backs like Derrick Henry, who are big, powerful, and want to run you over, is you get to him before they can build up momentum by block shedding, filling gaps, making sure you can get to him in the backfield and not letting him pick up steam. With our linebackers, shake the magic 8-ball, signs point to no. So I think it's going to be a situation where the defense is going to start out on its heels. We're going to see if we can make the Titans' offense one-dimensional by preventing the pass game. If we can, that would be ideal. And then the offense is going to be what the offense is going to be. They have some talent on defense. They have Jeffrey Simmons on the line. That's going to be an interesting test for our O-line week 1. They have a great safety in Kevin Byard. It's going to be a tough game. But all things are possible, you know? It's a new regime, new system, new everything. You never know.
Yeah, I would definitely say I agree with a lot of what you just said. When you look at their team, I mean, they got a couple of young players that I think can be taken advantage of. Like, for instance, Caleb Farley. He hasn't played that much. Christian Fulton hasn't played that much. Well, he's played more than Caleb, a lot more than Farley. Yeah. But he's still a pretty young player. I like their slot guy, Elijah Molden.
He's still a good player.
I forgot the guy's name that just tore his knee up.
Probably Caleb Farley.
No, the outside linebacker, the pass rusher.
Bud Dupree.
That was Bud Dupree.
Well,
I think that was the other. I think that was their other pass rusher that tore his knee. Harold Landry, I think.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Harold
Bud Dupree
Landry was
also
a
tore
really
his knee
good
out. I just
player.
wasn't sure which one you meant.
He did this year, or was that
No,
last year
last
you're
year.
talking about?
Last year.
Yeah, so Bud Dupree, I think Bud Dupree, when he played for the Steelers, we were just saying, "Oh, Bud Dupree, he's a non-factor," and Bud Dupree pretty much wrecked the game for us. So I could definitely see Bud Dupree lining up over Evan Neal, and people calling Evan Neal a bust because a vet Bud Dupree beats him a couple of times. But I mean, I could see this game going either way, but I wouldn't expect to win. What I want to see is I want to see a couple of drives put together that look productive. I want to see the offense look like it has a pulse, and I want to see the defense. If they run the ball on us, I mean, it is what it is. They run the ball on a lot of people, but I don't want to see a game where it's like 220 yards rushing, and I don't want to see a game where Ryan Tannehill has all day to throw, especially if our two pass rushers are out there. And I definitely, I would say the biggest issues for the Giants going into this game would be Evan Neal against Bud Dupree. And I think they'll probably line him over it because what's the point of lining him over Andrew Thomas when you can line him over Evan Neal? And then they lost AJ Brown, but guess what? We lost James Bradbury. So you're going to be lining up Traylon Burks or Robert Woods against Aaron Robinson. And Aaron Robinson throughout this entire preseason has not shown any ability to even be a solid starting cornerback. I call him Senor Stummy because
I've heard you say that, yes.
you know I talked about how we should not have taken him where we took him, and people said that he was the best thing since sliced bread, and then he hurt his stomach. So that's what's going on with him. But it's really just going to be about if we can stop the run. I think that'll be it. And I would say their secret weapon, or every team's secret weapon against us, is how much they are able to exploit Aaron Robinson. If Aaron Robinson plays solidly, I don't think they're going to put up a bunch of points against us.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of our ability to make them one-dimensional on offense. Because if we can completely eliminate the passing game, which isn't impossible to do, that'll make it a lot easier to contain Derrick Henry in the box. But I think, like you mentioned, our cornerback room is suspect at best, and it's going to be an uphill battle. I said for a while that Traylon Burks was my wide receiver one. I still view him very highly. I think he's an incredibly talented player. And Robert Woods, if he's healthy, is a very solid receiver. So Adoree Jackson should do good against one of them, depending on who he lines up against. And Aaron Robinson's going to have to play how he plays. I think it's a case with Aaron Robinson of sink or swim. And I still think he has the talent to be successful in the league. His coverage skills are not terrible as far as man coverage goes. His problems are what they've always been. It's playing the ball at the top of the route, not getting lost on the back end, and keeping his eyes front. Those are the things that have plagued him since day one, and they've plagued him all the way through training camp here. We're going to see, it's like I said, it's a sink or swim moment for the guy. And in terms of our offense against their defense, I just want to be excited. I don't really have criteria going into this game. I don't have things that I'm looking for specifically. I just want to be excited by this offense. It's been a while since the Giants have been exciting in any way, shape, or form. I would say probably since Odell was here was the last time the Giants were exciting on offense. I'd like to see it. It would be cool. Put together, like you said, a few cool drives, do some nice stuff, see some players make explosive plays, maybe a glimpse of old Saquon, Kadarius Toney doing Kadarius Toney things. Those would all be lovely things to see. Will it happen? Who the hell knows? But I'm excited to find out.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a temperature check game.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I'll put like a tag on that of like, if the Giants came out and put up like 45 points against them and like looked dominant, I wouldn't say that the Giants are like all of a sudden a playoff team. But if the Giants get completely stomped, I wouldn't necessarily say that, they're a 2-15 team. But I think if the Giants are able to go out there and it looks like both teams are kind of in a good rhythm as far as like looking kind of comfortable out there in the first game, and we're able to hang with them, I think that gives us, sort of like it gives us some sort of solace seeing that we can probably compete in most of the games that we play this year.
Yeah.
Now, as we've seen as Giants fans for like the last 10 years, even if we're able to compete, it's really about finishing these games. But I think that's our first step is just to be competitive. If we can't put up 25 points a game, people say like, you want us to score more than a touchdown more than we did last year? Yes, because it's been abysmal. Scoring 16, 17 points a game is unacceptable in 2022. And the way Brian Dable is, we better be scoring more than 22 points a game or 23 points a game this year, or there's a serious issue. The rules are just way too lopsided towards the offense for us to not be scoring at least 3 touchdowns a game. It's really ridiculous. And even if Daniel Jones isn't the guy, I would say at worst, Daniel Jones is like the 25th worst quarterback in the league. I mean, or best quarterback in the league. And if he's that, you should be able to get at least average quarterback play if you're an offensive guru out of him. So I'm looking for us to, like I said a little bit earlier, string 3 or 4 drives together that look really good, that look like the offense is competent. And this is what I saw in the preseason. I just want to see more of that, an offense that can move the ball up and down the field. And then after that, you put all your players in the best positions to succeed. And then, whether they can do it or not is up to them.
Yeah. And I think that kind of speaks to my idea of the Giants as a whole this year. And sort of the realistic expectations for the season. And that will be something I talk about in the first video I've made in, pardon my French, fucking forever. Because everything has been going on. But now that I'm settled in, I will get back to making content, I swear. So probably sometime in the next couple days, I'll have a video coming out doing my season projection for the Giants and everything therein. But I see the Giants as a team with just a wide open floor and ceiling. The range of outcomes for the Giants is massive this year. This could be a 3-win team. This could be a 10-win team. It just depends on how a lot of things go. It depends on everything because there are 0 known quantities for this team. Nothing. There's 1,000 question marks, and every question brings up more questions. I think when you're looking at every side of the ball, receivers, nothing but questions. Offensive line, 4 questions, 1 answer. Quarterback, who the hell knows? So I think when you're looking at this team, it's just going to be every week we're learning new things about them. And as we go on, our projections are either going to look really great or really stupid. And against the Titans, I think this is one that no matter what we say, we're probably going to look dumb. Because if we predict a win or a loss, maybe we'll be right. But what are we going to be predicting for this team? What do we expect out of this offense? Realistically, in week 1, with the things we've been seeing from our quarterback room in preseason, with our receivers and their consistency, which is a lack thereof, and the injuries
across the entire offensive line.
And the offensive line looking like it does, which is to say 4th string. It's just a roll of the dice at this point. And on defense, we have 1,000 questions in the secondary. We have just a million things to worry about against this Titans offense. What do we expect here? I have no idea. It could all go beautifully. It could be a hot mess. So it's going to be what it's going to be. I personally am just excited to watch Giants football again, and I'm hopeful.
Yeah, that's just all I want. I mean, to be honest with you, this offseason has been like my slowest offseason since I've been, I guess, making more serious videos about the Giants on here.
Sure.
It's just been so hard to get invested in this team, even with a new GM and a new head coach that I kind of feel good about. And seeing things, it's just been so difficult to get invested in this team and really be able to stick with it just because it's like it's Groundhog Day. It's like we bring in a new coach, we bring in a new GM, or we bring in a new offensive coordinator, or we bring in a new quarterback, and it's just the same thing. And it seems like it gets worse and worse. And every week 1, the last, maybe 5-6 years, I felt like, okay, we have a pretty good chance of winning this game. And it's been embarrassing. Going back to Nate, I don't know if you remember this game, but I remember week 1. I don't remember what year it was, but we were playing against the Cowboys, and Tony Romo ended up winning that game by hitting Jason Witten for the last minute score for a touchdown to beat us. And that's just ever since then, It just seemed like week one has always been a horrible thing. And I really believe if we can get a good start to a season, it really changes the entire trajectory of the entire season.
Yeah. I mean, 1-0, according to any coach you listen to, 1-0 is the biggest thing. It's a huge thing.
Yeah. And Blue City Empire Sports says first place Philadelphia, second place Cowboys, third place New York Football Giants, fourth place Washington Redskins. I have my own opinion about that, but I'm going to ask you, Nate, to give your opinion on this while I refresh my StreamYard to see if they'll actually recognize my OBS.
OBS, yeah. My opinion is I agree. I don't like it, but yeah, I agree. I think in terms of what the Eagles have done in the offseason, they're a very strong team. There's no two ways about it. I hate them like anything. I hate the Eagles more than any entity in professional sports. My hatred for the Eagles is serious. But I acknowledge they're a good team. They're a strong roster with seemingly solid coaching. And it's going to be interesting to see if they actually pay it off. A lot of their season is going to depend on Jalen Hurts. Oh, there he is. There you are, Diggy. I see you now. But it's going to depend on Jalen Hurts a lot, and I think they have put a hell of a system around him. They have great receivers for him to throw to. They have a running back room full of starters. They have, once again, a fantastic offensive line.
And they picked up Trey Sermon.
Yeah.
To go on top of that.
That offense is built to succeed. So as long as Jalen Hurts isn't garbage, the Eagles should be very strong. And the defense is full of talent. So it's hard to say that the Eagles aren't a contender in the NFC this year. It really looks like they are. It's going to come down to Jalen Hurts. And then the Cowboys, what can you point to and say they got better this year? There's nothing. They didn't improve their roster at all. Like, they're treading water at best and losing key players at worst. So I think it's going to be Micah Parsons. You got to carry this defense. You know, you got to do what you're going to do on the edge. DeMarcus Lawrence is going to have to do big work on the defensive line, and Trayvon Diggs, buckle up, bud. It's going to be a long one. And on offense, Dak lost Amari. That's a big thing. You're going to play it off and say, CeeDee Lamb's all that. And he's a great player. He really is. CeeDee Lamb's a fantastic receiver. But losing Amari Cooper is significant. It really is. The fact that they paid all that money to Zeke that they needed to save for Amari is one of the worst managerial choices the team has made in forever. Like, it's a Jones special on that one. So it's going to be interesting to see if Dak can pick it up with CD and see if they can make up for the loss there. Jalen Tolbert's a good receiver, but he's not going to make up for the loss of Amari Cooper. Certainly not in year one, I don't think. And on offense, they're really going to have to establish themselves early because it's going to be a long season if they can't put the ball in the end zone. Going into this year, my problem with the Cowboys is that they have more to prove this year than just about any team in the NFL, and they didn't get better. I can't see that as a winning business model. Like, you haven't won a playoff game in so long. Your reputation is the team that makes it and gets bounced first round every time, consistently. If that's where you are as a franchise, I can't see you treading water and being successful. It's just not a winning business model. And then Giants and Washington, it could go either way for me. Washington, I would argue, is more talented than we are from a roster standpoint, up and down the lineup, but it's not too far off. Again, quarterback for both teams it's going to be what it's going to be. So either team, coaching seems solid, but they're both wild cards for me in Washington and New York, and each season could be real long for both of these teams, and we're both going to be looking for quarterbacks next year most likely, so I think they're going to be third and fourth in some order. But as far as I'm concerned, that's a good list from Blue City Empire Sports.
Yeah, I would pretty much agree with that. I have a different opinion on I actually think it'll be the Giants and the Cowboys fighting for last place. Only because I think Carson Wentz is kind of getting a lot of hate for I don't think he's the MVP player that he looked like in 2016. But I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's like that level of Baker Mayfield. I think he's like that middle of the league quarterback. I mean, you don't accidentally put up 27-7.
You kind of do when you're Carson Wentz. You kind of do, actually.
Most of the time that Carson Wentz has played, he's looked decent. And then a lot of the times that he's played, his last season with the Eagles was horrible. But I think other than that, he's been a pretty steady, quarterback. I don't think he's that horrible of a player. And then when you
He
look
had
at
like
the fact
7
that
dropped interceptions last year, Diggy.
27 and 14 is a lot better than the guy we have.
Yeah, but that's not a high benchmark, is it?
But
That's not something to aspire to as an NFL quarterback. I'm better than Daniel Jones. That's not a high bar.
yeah, so I wanted to pull up their depth chart because I wanted to remind myself who their receivers were. Because they're really talented. They have
Yeah, it's
Dotson, they have McLaurin,
right, and
Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel, thank you, should be back this year healthy.
Diami Brown is their fourth receiver now, almost. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's a talented
they're
group.
loaded. I think which one
They
of the
added
guys
Andrew
got
Norwell,
hurt?
the
Brian
offensive line.
Robinson got hurt. I think they're really talented, and it's just about, is Carson Wentz the train wreck that the media says that he is? If he is, then they will be at the bottom of the division with us. But if he's just not a train wreck, then they should be in second or third place, and they should be competing in most of the games they play in, because I
Okay,
would say their offensive line is weaker than it's been in a while, but I would say
well, they
their
lost
defensive
Brandon
line is,
Scherf. It's going to be weaker.
yeah, definitely. But yeah,
Here's my problem with Washington is that it's not just Carson Wentz. It's not just the bad quarterback play, which has been the issue for Washington in recent years, because the quarterback play has been an issue for sure. Like, that's been their
yeah,
biggest thing. But it's been everything for them. The defense has not lived up to what it should have been. And granted, I know we're Giants fans. We understand when the offense is terrible, it makes the life difficult for the defense. We get that. It's complementary football and all that. But it's not been good. Bottom line, Chase Young has underperformed.
he's
Montez Sweat
always
has been
hurt.
good, not great. The defensive linemen are doing okay, but they're not living up to billing. And then the secondary has been a lot of problems. A lot of problems. You're going to sit here, you're going to tell me that Cameron Curl is the difference maker at safety? Okay, cool. You're
They
going to tell
love
me that
Cam
those
Curl.
corners are going to be it for you, Kendall Fuller and William Jackson. That's going to lock down the Eagles this year with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. I don't think so. And then the linebackers are still an issue. Cole Holcomb is decent, but it is what it is. They have David Mayo starting. Remember that name, Giants fans? David
Yeah,
Mayo. He's starting for Washington now. And Jamin Davis, who did not live up to his draft at all. So I think Washington, again, it's like I said, they have a very talented roster, but they have so much to prove. Washington has everything to play for this year, and they just haven't shown that they can live up to that talent yet. So I don't feel good projecting them anything other than bottom of the barrel this year. Between the quarterback problems and the inconsistency with the rest of their talent, I don't feel good about projecting them high. But it's not impossible. Much in the same way that the Giants aren't, it's not impossible for the Giants to be bad. In the same way, I think they both have a wide range of outcomes.
yeah, I would
Same
definitely
thing.
agree.
I
I
could
think
see both of them being 10-win teams.
yeah, they have the talent. I mean, I think Dallas is probably the least talented team as far as like skill positions. And when you take out the quarterbacks for all four teams, I think Dallas is the least talented team. And that's why they could possibly be at the bottom of the division, especially with Tyron Smith going out. Or they
That's
could be
big.
at the top because Dak Prescott is the best quarterback in this division. And I think with the Eagles, I think if Jalen Hurts is just an average player, they could still be winning this division. And
Oh, easily,
if he
for
gets
sure.
better, if he strong opinion sports always says this about Jalen Hurts. He says every single year Jalen Hurts gets better. So if he gets better every single year, and he gets better than what he was last year, this year, and he starts ascending towards like being a good quarterback, then we're in trouble for like the next 6 years
It's
because
possible.
it's going to be tough to stop. If running the ball, he's a weapon already, and if he can become a respectable thrower consistently, then it'll be tough. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why we keep talking about these younger quarterbacks, because even if Daniel Jones becomes an above average quarterback, we could be in that situation like Phillip Rivers, like good quarterbacks that were good quarterbacks and above average quarterbacks, but just couldn't get it done because you had to deal with Tom Brady or you had to deal with
Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
you
I
got
think
to have a guy.
I think when you're looking at Jalen Hurts, it's as always, it's the if. It's a big if. I personally, I don't believe in him. I just don't. I do not see it with Jalen Hurts in the passing game. I am sure I'll probably be proven wrong in some capacity this year because, like you said, he does usually get better year over year. But in terms of his passing game, I just don't see it. I really don't. I think on some level there has to be a foundation there. And Jalen Hurts, foundationally, is not a good passer.
Yeah.
He just isn't. He's not accurate. He doesn't make good decisions with the football. He's not on time. 0 for 3 on the basic
I would
things
say
you need to be a
Jalen
passer.
Hurts is like Tim Tebow with like actual NFL ability to throw the ball to a certain extent. Like Tim Tebow was like laughable as like an actual thrower, but I would say Jalen Hurts is passable.
I
as
think
a
if you
thrower.
want to make the Tebow comparison, he's Tim Tebow if everything about Tebow was a little better. That's
Exactly
Jalen Hurts to
everything,
me.
everything a tick up,
If,
and I would
if Tim
say
Tebow was like, if there was ever a chance for Tim Tebow, that's Jalen Hurts.
exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like the biggest thing about those two is the leadership and like the ability to get the entire team to rally around them. I think that's Jalen Hurts' biggest strength, and I don't know if I can underrate that, but we'll see if he becomes, an actual good to great quarterback. Because if he does, like I said, it would definitely be bad for us. But I see some more comments down here. Um, how many rush yards for Henry?
Oh God, I don't even want to answer that question. I don't see him not getting to 100. I really don't. He's Derrick Henry, and we're the Giants. Our defensive front seven is weak as hell. Our interior defensive line isn't bad for sure, but Leonard Williams, he's a better pass rusher than he's a run defender, without question.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's going to be an uphill battle for these linebackers to be bringing down Derrick Henry. I think, Derrick Henry's going to end up with at least 3 Giants on his highlight reel at the end of the season. I think he gets to 100, I would say.
Yeah, I think in a fit of rage, and my initial reaction to us trading Blake Martinez, I said that we would probably give up 140 yards to Derrick Henry rushing. And I mean, the thing with Derrick Henry and like all elite running backs is you can give up 140 yards and actually have had a decent day stopping the run, and they just broke off for like 70 yards one play. So I think if we do give up that many yards, it'll be because he had like a 70, 80-yard run or something like that, which is ridiculous because we all know he's not fast. We all know that people run up behind him and have the chance to tackle him and just let him keep running away and pretend that they can't catch him. But yeah, I think it'll be that kind of day. And if it's not that kind of a day, if we lose, it'll be a very bad day for Giants fans because it'll mean that Traylon Burks and Robert Woods and all these wide receivers who are good but not elite wide receivers completely destroyed our secondary, which would be annoying to see. Like they have Derrick Henry and they didn't even need to run the ball to beat us.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier, it's going to be what it's going to be. A lot of questions that we're going to have answered, and at this point, we'll just wait and see. But again, not to be repetitive here, Blake Martinez was not going to be the thing that stops Derrick
Definitely
Henry
not.
from going off. That was never going to be a thing. Well, let's be real here, guys.
Yeah, definitely not. I'll get to that later. I have a sponsor that I'll get to later. I was trying to see if Thrive Fantasy had an over/under for Derrick Henry's rushing yards. I can't find it right
God.
now, but if I do find it, I'll definitely reference it.
Oh,
But Landon Shaw says, I'm worried about them running the ball hard on us because Micah isn't really a run stopper. Tay is a smaller back. Beavers got hurt. I don't know much about Calitro. He showed out in preseason, but King Henry is a big, and I guess you can insert an expletive after that or something. But, yeah, I mean, pretty much the same thing. I'm not really worried about, like, even if you have good linebackers, he's a threat. So,
oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
and then like, just like you said, like Blake being out, yeah, Blake is a better tackler than them. He's gonna recognize things quicker than them. But I mean, it's first off, let's dispel the rumor, and I'm not saying that Landon is saying that, but let's dispel the rumor that like NFL players can't tackle other NFL players. Like, there will be times where Derrick Henry gets tackled by
for sure.
a linebacker. or by a safety. I mean, he's a human being. So
yeah, it's going to happen. Like we're not saying that he's going to break every tackle. It's not
exactly.
possible. But
So let's get that out of the way first.
Yeah.
And second, yeah, like they're definitely a concern, but I think it all starts at the defensive line. Sure, they have to fill their gaps. Sure, we're going to send a bunch of blitzes, but I still think that if we're paying Dexter Lawrence as much as we're paying him, he's got to be a force. I mean, just on that fifth-year option, he's got to be a force on that front line. If he's a captain, like if the dude is a captain, I mean, he's got to be a force on that line. Leo is a better pass rusher than run stopper, but I think he is an above-average run stopper. And then I think it's really where you're going to win or lose this game, or at least in the running game, is Kayvon Thibodeau going to be overly aggressive and not contain? Is Azeez Ojulari going to be healthy? is either one of them going to be healthy? But pretty much the same thing. Are they going to be overly aggressive and be playing the pass and not contain for the run? The same thing for Ryan Tannehill. He can still run the ball. So we have to make sure that we keep contained, and we have to make sure that we can win those battles on the edges and win the battles across the entire defensive line. Because I can see Wink sending a bunch of run blitzes, but if we don't win those defensive line battles and Derrick Henry gets past the defensive line and you're sending a run blitz, there's going to be no one there. And Derrick Henry's going to be one-on-one with Cordell Flott or something like that. And in that situation, there might actually be some validity to Cordell Flott not being able to tackle Derrick Henry like 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's the same thing with all these running backs in the same archetype. And Derrick Henry is sort of just the peak of this archetype of running back. And I mean, you're an LSU fan. I'm sure you saw this with Leonard Fournette in college.
Yeah.
Who was the only team that stopped Leonard Fournette on the ground? Alabama. How'd they do it? They
get hit in the
destroyed the
backfield.
offensive line, and
as he touched the
7
ball.
guys tackled him in the backfield every time. That's how you stop these guys. You don't let them build up a head of steam. You don't let your DBs get embarrassed. That's how you do it. And
I remember I was so mad. I remember
Yeah.
I was so mad because everybody was saying, and the reason I'm an LSU fan is because of Leonard Fournette, first of all. So I remember I was so mad because everyone was saying, like, Leonard Fournette is going to be a bust because he didn't run well against Alabama. I'm like, no one's blocking for him. Like, but anyway, you can finish what you were saying.
Yeah, Alabama stopped him against their one NFL offensive lineman. No, but that's the archetype is what we're talking about here. A power running back that'll embarrass you if you let him. So you just don't let him. That's how you stop a guy like this. Unfortunately, I do not think we have the players that are going to do that. I don't think we have linebackers that take on blocks well enough, first of all, because that's what you need to do. You need to be able to take on blocks in the second level and not let them get free space, free gaps, not let him get a crease and build up a head of steam and lower that shoulder into a safety, because that's how you end up on a highlight reel. And I also don't think we have a defensive line that's going to just play play gap and a half, and be able to actually fill up all those gaps and make sure Derrick Henry has to bounce it outside. Because when Derrick Henry bounces it outside and you have a linebacker there waiting to contain on him, then you're going to be okay. Then maybe he'll make one stiff arm, but you're going to have someone else to play backup and you gang tackle. And that's how you stop a power running back like this. But against our defense, with our defensive line that needs to show gap discipline desperately, and our linebackers that need to be able to take on blocks and have not showed that they can do that, it's not a recipe for success. That is not what you call a winning business model. So it's going to be interesting, but are we going to do great against Derrick Henry? Signs point to no. I don't think so.
I would definitely agree. I mean, there's always a chance. I mean, there's definitely always a chance.
Any given Sunday.
Yeah. There's always a chance, but I don't see it happening logically, especially because even with Blake Martinez in the game, I do think that he's a good run-stopping linebacker. But even with him in the game, I mean, you have multiple linebackers. You have safeties.
Yeah.
You have corners who have to get off their blocks too. Like, that's a huge thing. So many times you see toss plays not be successful because a corner shed his block. So It takes the entire team, and I just don't think we have enough, especially with Adoree Jackson too. I don't think he's that well at shedding blocks, even against receivers.
Yeah, and Blake Martinez, by the way, nothing against the guy. I liked him when he was a Giant. I thought he was a solid player for us. He was steady. He was a good guy to have on your team. You'd much rather have him than not have him. But his entire play style is the opposite of what I'm talking about here. Blake Martinez doesn't run up to the line, take on blocks, and blow somebody up. Blake Martinez keys the run, waits for it, and makes the tackle 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. And that's how you end up on a Derrick Henry highlight reel. Because he'll be waiting 5 yards to the line of scrimmage. Derrick Henry will hit the A gap, build up a head of steam, lower his shoulder, and send you into next week. So Blake Martinez, when I say that he was never going to be the guy that stops Derrick Henry, I don't mean because Blake Martinez isn't that good. He's a fine run-stopping linebacker. He does what he does well. But what he does well is not going to work against Derrick Henry. That's
It's
not
just
a
like
recipe for
this.
success.
Just to simplify what Nate is saying, like it's like this. Derrick Henry is an all-pro level player. What linebacker or what defensive person do we have that's an all-pro level player? We don't have one. So who's that? Who's gonna go toe to toe with him? I don't really know. So let's get to Mark Anthony Reeves. All I need is a line to hold up. I saw every quarterback throw from a pocket comfortably this preseason, and I haven't seen that in 11 years. 2011 champs was the end of the Giants. So I definitely agree with that. Even in preseason, the thing that was most encouraging to me was not only that the offensive line, the first team offensive line was holding up in the past, but for the most of the preseason, the entire offensive line was holding up, even with like 5 or 6 guys out. So we spent years of the preseason doesn't matter, but it kind of shows you what the depth of your team looks like. Like if your third and second team is constantly losing the battle to other teams, second and third teams, it's probably not a good sign for your depth. So I would say that, like, for the most part, until I think that game Tyrod got hurt, the offensive lines like held up really well in the past game. Guys had like 3 or 4 seconds to throw the ball. And if we can get that for Daniel Jones, I think he will be an above average quarterback. If he has 3 or 4 seconds to throw he's not that bad of a player to where he has all day to throw and just doesn't hit guys. So if we can get that, I think that we will be able to score a lot more points.
Yeah, I mean, we know what the offensive line is. We know what this is. Like, we've been here, we've talked about this forever. We understand this at this point. It would be absolutely lovely to see some real live pockets from the Giants this season. We saw a few of them during the preseason. It looked good. It was enjoyable to watch. Now we're going to see some real, actual pass rushers coming after him. We know Andrew Thomas is solid. It's just an absolute joy to watch him play. He's fantastic.
God, it is.
But if this offensive line can just be solid, it'll be a breath of fresh air. We all know this. And at this point, it's just something that it's going to have to happen sooner or later. Like, no team can be this bad at the same thing for this long. It just can't happen unless you're the Browns, in which case you're bad at everything for that long. But, I mean, eventually, surely, the Giants will have a good offensive line. Like, it's been so long by now, you know? Like, it's probably been since that last championship team that who was mentioned.
And even then, they were on the downside of how good they were.
Yeah, but it was solid at least, you know?
Yeah, I would definitely say.
I think we can get to solid this year.
Yeah. Let's see. And then before I even talk about this, Saquon, too, he picked up a couple of nice blitzes in that game that he played in. So that was good to see that he's actually recognizing things. And he actually showed the initiative to actually meet the blocker and not catch – meet the blitzer and not catch the blitzer. So if he can do that, that will probably take away about – I just want a willingness to do it first. He can deal with all that other stuff later.
Whatever.
If he's catching guys, I think him just not catching people, it gives us probably 3 less sacks this year. But what do you guys think happens with Saquon if he had 1,000-yard rushing season and 10 touchdowns? I think Saquon Barkley, unless he has like an MVP level season, I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's back.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where any outcome with Saquon isn't really a surprise after this year. I think Joe Schoen is the only one that really knows what's going to happen, and even he probably won't make a decision until very late in the process. With Saquon Barkley, I could see any number of possible outcomes. I could see him being tagged and traded. I can see him just signing a new deal. I can see him walking in free agency. I was talking to Bobby Skinner about this, and he said that the way he would like to see it play out is Joe Schoen sit him down at the end of the year and say, listen, Saquon, we want to have you back. We want to sign you. This is what we think a fair contract is. Take it or leave it. And that's sort of what I would like to see happen as well. But on some level, I think we do need to acknowledge the fact that Joe Schoen has been cleaning house. Everything that Gettleman left him is on its way out. And Saquon isn't his. Saquon is not his. So I think it's fair to say that Saquon has an uphill battle. Maybe not as much of an uphill battle as Daniel Jones has, but Saquon does have an uphill battle if he wants to stay a Giant. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Will he take a hometown discount? Not impossible, probably not likely. I think when you're looking at a market that is still, for some reason, paying running backs big contracts when they don't deserve them, if Saquon Barkley can just have a solid year, someone in free agency will throw the bag at him.
Yeah.
Someone that's trying to climb that hill. Like if the Bills can't make the Super Bowl again this year, they'll say, "Oh my God, we just need something. Saquon, come over, be our savior, be the one running back that can actually be efficient for us." It's just a question of how good he does.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the team that.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to win with Saquon, and Saquon is one of my favorite players, but I'm still looking for the team that got ran to a Super Bowl in the last 20 years.
Well, ran to a Super Bowl or ran and
won a Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, I mean,
a star running back like Adrian Peterson, the best running back of this past generation, didn't make a Super Bowl. Ezekiel Elliott was really good, and as good as a running back could be at his height, they didn't make the Super Bowl. I mean, if you go down the list, I just can't see any one of these teams. Derrick Henry was getting shut down in the playoffs. I just haven't seen this star running back take a team to a Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. The closest thing I can think of is Todd Gurley, but he didn't even do it. He was good in the regular season, and he was injured in the playoffs.
And he didn't win the Super Bowl with the Reds.
Exactly, and they didn't win. So,
yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking at a running game versus a running back, that's where you'll see some more Super Bowl success in the Patriots, for instance. But if you're looking at one specific star running back, I think it's important to remember, though, that you can sort of point the finger at that for a lot of things, not just a star running back.
Oh, yeah, running back, wide receiver.
It's just so much. It's not about the position to me. It's about your economics, and it's more about the fact that you cannot be too overinvested in one player. And when you're giving 20% of your salary cap to a quarterback, it's going to be a lot more difficult. That's why you see quarterbacks that are on rookie deals winning so many Super Bowls. Like Joe Burrow made the Super Bowl last year. It's a lot easier to build a stacked up roster around that. So when you're looking at a running back and you're going to pay 10% of your salary cap to a guy that, let's be real, probably isn't going to be worth 10% of your franchise in any situation, what are you going to expect there? You're not going to have that resource to spend on other positions that you need. You're not going to have it for depth. You're not going to have it to get another star player somewhere else. Somewhere you're sacrificing something. So it's just about the economics of team building.
Yeah, I just don't think there's any way. The more I think about it, the more I just say, I just don't think there's any way that we could justify paying Saquon a huge deal, like $18, $20 million a year, because first off, it's just a lot of money for that position when you can get similar production. In order for a running back to be worth that much to your team, he's got to be running for 2,000 yards or 1,800 yards every year. Yeah. And then on top of that, if your running back is running for 1,800 to 2,000 yards every year, that means your quarterback probably isn't throwing for that much. And that means that you don't have an elite quarterback, or a very rarely do you have a great quarterback and your running back is running for that many yards. It just seems like you need you got to spread that money around, because I just can't see it working out.
I think when we're looking at this argument about running backs, and there's really two schools of thought. There's the idea that you can have one star running back, and that's going to be what drives you. And there's the idea that offensive line will always be more important than the specific running back in your run production, and you can do it with any guy that you pick up out of free agency. And I think there's sort of elements of both arguments that are correct, in the sense that a lot of people think this is so black and white, and it's not. There's gray area in between in this running back argument, because there are players. When you look at Christian McCaffrey, is he getting overpaid? Probably. Is he impossible to stay healthy? Also, yeah. But can he do things with the football that just about no other running back in the league can?
Besides our injured running back.
Okay, let's not go there, please. But the point is, when you're looking at players at any given position, it doesn't matter what position it is. there will always be a player that can be special, regardless of position. You can look at linebacker, you can look at safety, any position that's perceived lower value. You will still be able to find at least one guy in a generation, 1, 2, 3 guys, who are that special. A Fred Warner, for instance, at middle linebacker, or a Derwin James at safety, who can be that guy for you and play outside the bounds of his positional value. Those are things that exist, and it's why it annoys me to hear people say, I'll never pay that money to whatever position, when there are examples of it working. It's just, when you're looking at Super Bowl success, and you're looking at that in the last 20 years, it's so polluted that the sample doesn't work, because the Patriots have won fucking 7 of them. The sample is polluted. People don't realize this. When you say, well, how many teams have won the Super Bowl in the last 20 years? 7 of them are Tom Brady.
Yeah.
The sample is polluted.
And that's people say the same thing about wide receivers, but Julio Jones would have one if not for Tom Brady.
Right. So. Like, the sample is so polluted. No statistician would be respected if he looked at this Super Bowl sample in the last 20 years and didn't say, well, this data is meaningless, because Tom Brady ruins it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm ranting about other things now. That's my fault.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you as far as that gray area, as far as like what Saquon can do in the passing game. I really need to see them use Saquon to his potential, as far as like utilizing him like Alvin Kamara, as Authentic says a lot.
Yeah.
Utilize him as a guy that can run the ball, get about 1,100 yards, and then get you like 600 or 700 yards in the passing game, and get you some red zone touchdowns in the passing game. Be a wildcat quarterback in the red zone. Who knows? But someone who can do something like that, because if we just use him as a running back, it's going to be really hard for him to be that worthy of being paid. But if we use him as an entire weapon, as he was supposed to be drafted to be used as, and we never have done it, then I think that you can make that argument. But my only thing is that gives me hesitation is that when you look at where we went wrong with Dave Gettleman, we all love Saquon, and I'm glad that he's on the team to a certain extent, because I did not want Sam Darnold on the team. I really didn't like him as a player at all. And the quarterback that I liked, being honest with you, was Josh Rosen, and I didn't want him over Quentin Nelson or Saquon. So I was pretty happy that we got Saquon, but I would say that our biggest issue was putting that prime resource into a running back spot that was dependent on the offensive line to succeed, and we didn't use that running back in the other ways to succeed besides dump offs that got him 100 catches. But looking at that, and then looking at this next season where we could possibly be paying this running back $20 million, and then you're starting this process over with the rookie quarterback, and that $20 million could go towards another position, maybe cornerback, whatever position. He has to be a superstar. He has to live up to that contract, or you basically set your team back for the next 3 years of that quarterback's first 3 years, which is the time that you want to be winning.
Yeah, all that's fair.
Let's see what else we got here. I saw a couple of them. I've seen this a couple of times. Anthony Richardson is a star. I think he's a star in college. Hopefully he can become a star in the NFL.
I think I believe in talent.
2015. What's that in relation to? Maybe he was saying 2015 when I was talking about that Tony Romo play.
Oh, maybe. Sounds about right.
Wentz will be replaced long before the season is over. That's very possible. Heineke has gotten just the short end of the stick this past couple of years. Like, the fact that they've tried to replace him, I hope Carson Wentz doesn't get injured, but he has a long history of getting injured. And they could, for the second year in a row, think that they're replacing Taylor Heineke and him be their starting quarterback early on. I don't see it with Hurts either. He can run. Hurts is way better than Tebow. I definitely agree. I mean, yeah, if you give him a bump in every single category, he becomes a much better player.
That's what I've been saying, yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if the Giants' defense keeps them in it until they get exhausted from the offense going through and out constantly. If the Giants' defense keeps them in it, then Wink is really a magic man. I honestly expect more from the offense week 1 than the defense, to be honest with you. I don't expect us to put up like 35, but I do expect us to look better as a unit than the defense. Do you guys know that John Mayer is not getting involved with the team? From what we know, he isn't, but I mean, you can never say for sure. The Fox is ready to hunt for week 1. Who's the Fox? Am I missing something?
I have no idea who that is.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, let me know. You left that comment a while ago, but let me know who you're referencing. Always love when everyone picks against my teams. This is something I want to talk about with Giants fans. And like going back to 2013, I would say is the first time like I had this mindset and we ended up being bad. Since 2013, every year Giants fans say they doubted us. We're going to prove the haters wrong. And they play that same 2007 playoff compilation of Jimmy Johnson and everybody picking against the Giants every playoff game and saying that we would lose. But that was literally like, what, at this point, a whole teenager away. That was literally a whole teenage child growing from an infant to a teenager away from when that happened in 2007. So
for context, everyone watching, I am in college. I was 3.
Exactly. In 2007, that's a long time ago. I was a squeaker in 2007. I was a high-pitched kid. I was a little kid in 2007. So I understand like wanting to prove everyone wrong, but if you're saying that you're going to prove everyone wrong every year and everyone's just hating, it seems like we're the people who are delusional at that point. Because if we think that we're going to be good every year and guys are laughing at us and like we're saying like, oh, you idiot, you're not keeping up with the Giants, we're going to be good this year. Like last year, remember the flack and going back and forth, the entirety of Giants Twitter, I'm not sure if everybody on YouTube knows, but the entirety of Giants Twitter, the fandom, was going back and forth with ex-Chief players saying like, or an ex-Broncos players. I think we played the Broncos week 1 last year, right?
Yes, Broncos week 1.
Yeah, we were going back and forth with ex-Broncos players saying like, we're going to win. We're a much better team. And Monte Ball was like, listen, if you guys beat the Broncos, I'll be shocked. And like, it was just like people were retweeting it saying like, I'm saving it. And we got destroyed pretty much week 1. We looked horrible. Teddy Bridgewater put on a clinic. He had a saying like,
that was bad.
Oh, Teddy Bridgewater might have finally taken the next step. He might be in a comfortable offense. Pat Shurmur might have unlocked Teddy Bridgewater's real potential. So that's how good Teddy Bridgewater looked, and that's how bad the Giants look. So listen, I'm happy for you, and I hope that you do get that vindication of like thinking the Giants are going to be really good and they actually be good. But I just can't commit to expecting to prove everyone wrong when every single year for almost the past decade we have proven the haters right. So at that point, are they haters or are they just looking at things objectively?
Yeah.
Let's see. To me, that mindset is, I'm guessing he's saying childish to get rid of a good
when
player.
I said Joe Shane's been cleaning house and it's the ghetto and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think that's why. I think it's just like a lot of money, and he's just saying like he'd rather, go cheaper.
Yeah, I mean,
Marshawn Lynch. Yeah, Marshawn Lynch. Oh, they did win that year before.
Yeah, against the Broncos, right?
Yeah, but they also pretty much shut Peyton Manning out.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, they had a historical defense. Marshall Faulk, sure, but I mean, greatest show on turf. Tennessee Titans are going to the Super Bowl. I would be really surprised about that. I think their only ticket to the Super Bowl is a surprise like breakout from Malik Willis. That's their only way that they could possibly make it, in my opinion. Yep. Born in 1994. Timon Fox is still on the team too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know anything about the guy. I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm not going to speak out of my ass.
Besides that one hit, I don't know anything about him either.
I do not care about him, like, at all. I mean, he says I picked the Chargers, but now everyone is, so I need to change that. Whatever. I mean, it's cool.
Let's see. I think this offense is going to be a surprise. We scored over 20 in every preseason game. I don't think you can really talk about the score total in preseason because Davis Webb is he's historically great in the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, we all know preseason statistics don't mean anything. We're just watching to watch, and we're just looking for things we see on tape. And I think when we say this offense is going to surprise based on the preseason, that's generous at best, considering we were playing our starters against third string every time. So it's going to be what it's going to be, you know?
All right. I just need to know how we became a playoff team in 2016 and then be so bad from 2017. I think it was like
It was a fluke in 2016.
Yeah. We played like 6 backup quarterbacks. We had a really good defense, but the backup quarterbacks we played made us look historically great. And then Odell was kind of being Odell and kind of carried us there. But other than that, I mean, I don't think that was that dominant of a team the way we made it look.
And I have a problem with that season, by the way. I have a problem with the fact that people give so much credit to the boat trip as the reason that we got crushed by the Packers, and not just the fact that we were bad and the Packers were good. That's what really happened there. Like, was the boat trip stupid? Yeah. Was running out in freezing cold with no shirts on stupid? Yeah.
An apex predator.
But it's Aaron Rodgers versus the 2016 Giants. That was never a game we were going to win. It didn't matter if they went on the boat trip or stayed in the film room for an extra 3 hours after practice. We weren't going to win that week. It just wasn't going to happen. Let's be real.
Yeah. I do think the game would have been a lot closer. Not about the boat trip, but I think the game would have been a lot closer had the Giants receivers actually caught passes that were thrown to them that would have scored touchdowns early on in the game. There was a lot of strange things. Overall, you would probably bet on the Packers to win that game, but there were like 4 or 5 like huge moments in that game that like really killed the momentum. The first was Odell, your number one guy who's been showing up for you all year, dropping that first touchdown. The second was Sterling Shepard dropping that touchdown. Right after that, you had DRC get hurt, and as soon as DRC got hurt, they started attacking the one guy who came in for DRC. And that's pretty much how they put up all their points in that one position. And then on top of that, we started to get a little bit of momentum. And then they kick off the ball to us. And Bobby Rainey catches the ball and has his foot out of bounds or something. And instead of just letting the ball go out of bounds and letting us get the ball at the 45, he catches it and steps out at the 3-yard line. And I think at that point, we were finished. And then on top of that, I didn't even mention the fact that they called a Hail Mary. So I think that game could have been a lot closer, and I think playoff Eli showed up to play, but it was just a very unlucky day.
Yeah.
If we had a competent play caller. I think I would put that more on the receivers than anything on that particular day. Now, that whole season was a mess.
We weren't winning that game.
But, yeah, definitely a tough win. No pass rush. We couldn't score at all. We averaged like 16 a game this year. I mean, that's no different than now, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I mean, we can be honest here. The Giants haven't really had strong roster building since the Super Bowl runs. Like, it hasn't been a thing.
Yeah. So, comments are kind of slowing down here. If you have any kind of thoughts on the Titans game in the chat, go ahead and drop that in the chat. I probably won't stay on for too much longer. Nate, is there anything about this game that you think you haven't kind of covered that you wanted to talk about?
I think we've done a pretty good job covering all the important aspects of it. We've talked about both sides of the ball. We've talked about some storylines here. I think one thing for me that is an underrated aspect of this is the fact that despite the outcome and what we expect it to be, this should at least be fun. As Giants fans, we're used to not having any damn fun watching this team. But I think going into this season, and I've said this a few different times about the team in general, but against this team as well, this should be a team that is fun to watch this year. We're going to be blitzing the hell out of teams, and maybe we'll get toasted in the secondary, but we're still going to be blitzing the hell out of teams, putting hits on the opposing quarterback. We're going to be dialing up some crazy, wacky crap on offense. We're going to be aggressive, which is a breath of fresh air. And it should be at least a fun team to watch. So it shouldn't be a difficult game to get through this weekend.
Yeah. Definitely agree. I mean, that's pretty much what I want to see. I've streamed like the past year and a half, and I would say at least the second half of that because of like without the hope of like, oh, we have a young quarterback and he's going to get better eventually. I would say it's been like the worst, like the lowest energy streams because like there's literally nothing going on. It's not like outrageously bad. Sometimes it was, but it's just like boring. It's just completely boring.
It's terrible.
Especially
it's
with Joe
conservative, it's cowardly, it's just not fun football to watch. But this year I'm expecting to at least have some fun watching these games.
Yeah. So let's see. Another thing I want to go about before I pull up the sponsor for the channel. Another thing I wanted to talk about is Evan Neal. And I think that that's really a big key in this game. I think if Evan Neal has like a Andrew Thomas kind of start to this season, it could really end up, kind of crippling us. But I think at the same time, you just can't. I just really don't want to see Giants fans like attacking this dude if he's getting if he looks horrible at the beginning of his rookie season because the position is just such a difficult position to come out and just look great. Like, I think we all want Tristan Wirfs. We all want, what's the guy? Rashawn Slater. Yeah. But that just happens so rarely that it's just really hard to expect that from that dude.
And Tristan Wirfs also had Tom Brady to help him out.
Who got the ball out in like 2 seconds every play.
And who is impossible to overrate as a source of help for a young offensive lineman. In terms of protection calls, calling out blitzers, IDing certain things in the defense. So let's not forget about that. So I think Evan Neal, I'd really like to hope that Giants fans learn their lesson with Andrew Thomas. I would like to hope, but the realistic part of my brain knows that we're Giants fans and we don't learn anything ever from any experience in our lives.
Never.
So
Eric Flowers.
Oh, please stop. Don't say his name. But I'd like to think that on some level we have learned something from Andrew Thomas having a slow start. And if Evan Neal has a slow start, we won't absolutely get on him early. But we probably will because we're stupid Giants fans.
Yep. And wrapping that up, I think we're going to get out of here pretty soon. I just wanted to cover the sponsor for this channel. The link is in the description. Or not the link, but the code DIGGE is in the description. And I can provide you guys a link to Thrive Fantasy in the chat and in the description. Week 1, Thrive is matching 100% of what you put up into it, all the way up to $100. So if you put in $100, you get $100 back. You have $200 to play with. And I thought this was pretty interesting. They called me personally, and I thought this would be pretty cool to kind of get involved in. Fantasy season, if you're like me and you kind of have been busy with life, fantasy football season is like you're getting right on the edge of being able to play, and you're definitely getting on the edge of being able to research every single player. So right here you see they have guys like Joe Burrow, Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill, some more like your well-known players in the league, guys that are really easy to make decisions on. And what you're going to do is you would go through, make picks, predictions on over-unders. Tyreek Hill, 70.5 over-under on receivers. Receiving yards, Joe Burrow, 292.5 yards over-under. Let's see if I can find Derrick Henry here. Derrick Henry, his over-under is 90.5 yards rushing. I think that's pretty fair. So you would go through and you would pick 10. You would go ahead and submit that. You see right here, positions filled 3 out of 10. Go ahead and submit that. And if you're able to get it right, all you got to do is put in $25. If you're able to get that right, you get part of this prize pool, and it works just like the lottery. So if there's so ever many winners, you get to split that money, and you see it's already at $250,000, and it'll be a different number every week. The more people that participate, the bigger the number gets. and you could possibly leave this with, a couple $1,000 up to, maybe $10,000. So definitely check them out. I'll leave it in the description. As I said, anything that I get from all of my sponsors goes right back into the channel. I don't, tuck it away and buy a Gucci belt with it or or anything like that. So if you want to support the channel and just, see if you can win some money too, go through Thrive Fantasy. All right. So yeah, I originally wanted to do like a fantasy stream, but like I said, I've gotten so busy and we're right going into the season. So Thrive is definitely a good alternative for that. But let's see before I get out of here, before we end this, if there's anything else that looks interesting here. Derrick Henry for 125 game 1. I'm looking forward to Wink's defense. I agree with that. We're looking to see much better. We're looking to see a much better offense this year. Too pass happy, in my opinion, but we'll put up points, hopefully. Yeah, I'm hoping we see a better offense. I'm hoping we see at least an average defense or not a historically bad defense. I'll tell you, with Patrick Graham, that first drive, remember when Joe Judge and Patrick Graham first got here and Jason Garrett got here, and that first play of the game of the offense and defense, the offense came out in some crazy formation and the defense came out and everyone was standing up and switching positions, and we're like, oh my God, we have geniuses all over the coaching staff. So I'm hoping that we see something like that that's actually effective and we can actually win some games. But I see the chat is kind of slowing down. I haven't seen anything coming in a little while. I guess I'll go ahead and end the stream. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and hanging out. I mean, I was surprised to get over 30 people here since I haven't streamed in so long. And thanks to Nate. Hopefully, we're able to kind of have something exciting to talk about next week. And everybody be on the lookout for Nate's video going into this first game. And what's going on, Silo? I see you catching me a little bit late, but I'm going to be streaming every week once again. And maybe I'll throw in some stuff during the week if I can, but I'll definitely be streaming every Sunday. And until next time, everybody have a great rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the LSU game that's coming on at 7. Jaden Daniels is going to be the next Joe Burrow. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have a great rest of your day.